Okay, so it looks like we have a lot of elementary student teachers, and it's pretty even split after that between pre-K, middle school, and high school. So it's kind of what we've been hearing, is that all the way across the board, this has been a stress for teachers all the way across the board. So I don't want to waste any time that we have. We only have an hour to go through some of this stuff. So I'm going to introduce our speaker for today. Lisa Dunham is a mental health professional at Jefferson County Human Services. She provides therapy and clinical supervision. She is passionate about training the community on trauma and resilience, and in particular is passionate about helping to support teachers who she feels are real life superheroes. We're so glad that she's able to come and join us today, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, and welcome. I'm so glad to be back, and I'm so glad that people are showing up here. It's super exciting that everybody is invested in their own well-being and wellness. So I wanted to just start off today, here we go, with a brief mindful moment. I have my lovely little bell here, and we're just going to do some square breaths. So square breaths are, you inhale for a count of 4, you hold it, you exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold it again and start over. And you can either kind of picture that square, you can do that square on your desk or on your hand. We're only just going to do about 1 minute of this. And what I'm going to do is I will ring my lovely little bell 3 times. The first time, I just want you to draw your attention to the fact that I'm doing the square breathing right now. The second time, maybe set your intention, whether it's for the 1 minute, I'm going to try my best to stay on task, or whether it's for the next upcoming hour. And then the third bell, we're going to begin our 1 minute of square breathing. When the 1 minute is over, I'll ring the bell again. All right, so first bell, just draw your attention to what's going on. Second, set intentions. And then third is begin your square breathing. All right, so that ends our real quick mindful breathing. So this is what I'm hopeful to achieve today. Just 4 kind of objectives. If you have things that are not necessarily on this list or things that you want to make sure that I attend to, you can just pop it in the chat and I'll make sure to try to get to that today. Number 1 is just kind of validate this current situation and what we're going through, what you're going through. Number 2 is some quick tips for practice of stress reduction at school, at home. Since I know teachers are very busy, I did my best to kind of separate it into 5-minute tips and 10-minute tips. And then I got some feedback from some great teachers I know that it would be helpful to get some feedback on how to set limits, how to set boundaries and maintain those. And then just how we can set our intentions moving forward. So those are kind of my 4 main objectives for today. So why now? Why is this so important right now? Well, first off, obviously all the COVID things. I can't even begin to list them. You guys obviously all know them, but just everything from class sizes changing to keeping up with the policies and procedures about what sickness looks like to masks or no masks and everything under the sun. I read an article recently, and I put the source on the bottom here. About 1/3 of teachers are meeting actual clinical criteria for either depression or anxiety currently right now. And about 20% are meeting criteria for PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. I see the chat there. Yes, you'll all get copies of these slides. Thank you for asking. And then thirdly, I just want to point out, you need this. You are helpers. And I know that oftentimes helpers put ourselves last on kind of the list of who we help. However, think of it this way, and this is tied directly to that third bullet point there. If you are well and well taken care of, your efficacy within the classroom and meeting the standards that are expected of you goes up. So if you need to think about it as, I'm not helping myself, but in the long term, I'm helping the kids through doing this, that's great too. And I have this great picture of a firefighter here because I feel like this was the most perfect metaphor for the stress teachers are under right now. My kids are in kindergarten and second grade, and they loved their art teacher. Hi, Miss Marchant, if you're watching this. And Miss Marchant in about October left teaching to pursue a career firefighting. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, if that doesn't just spell it out, what does? This woman would prefer to be literally running into burning buildings versus being a teacher right now. And I reached out to her to ask her permission for me to kind of share that story today. And she said, absolutely. And then she said, I'm really interested in hearing how the webinar goes. And let me tell you, full-time firefighting is leaps and bounds less stressful than teaching right now. So if anything is validating, let it be that story that you guys are really, really on the front lines and have more stress than some individuals who are in firefighting right now. All right, so burnout. I think we've all heard of burnout. We use it, or I've heard it described various different ways. I put kind of three different definitions that I saw up here on the list for you. I know y'all know how to read, but I'm just going to quickly read through them because I want you, as I'm reading, to just think if this applies to you. So World Health says there's 3 dimensions of burnout: feeling like you're energy deprived or exhausted, increasing kind of your mental distance from your job or feeling cynical toward your job or negative, and then thirdly, a reduction in our own efficacy. So then Mayo Clinic says that burnout is this special type of work-related stress, physical or emotional or both, physical, emotional, or both exhaustion that involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and losing your personal identity. So, oh my gosh, I can't even go home and be a mother or a daughter or a significant other. I feel like I'm teacher mode all the time. And then lastly, exhaustion of physical, emotional strength or motivation due to prolonged stress or frustration. So I think we're going to launch a poll real quick here. Just how many of you right now would say that you're experiencing signs or symptoms of burnout that I have up here? And I think, Christina, if once people vote, you can share the results. It should let you share like on the screen so we can see.
Yep, I'll give it like 30 more seconds.
Perfect, okay. And I was just reading in the chat, yes, Mary, who said this seems low for the statistics. Yes, keep in mind, this is self-reporting on the statistics and also meeting clinical levels of anxiety or depression. So you're right, I think it may be low. So about 83% of us in the room right now are saying that we're experiencing burnout. I'm glad you're here. That is huge and that is exhausting. And that's the word that stuck out to me on kind of all 3 of these, is how exhausting this is. So in addition to burnout, teachers get this special thing called secondary trauma. So secondary trauma is the stress or duress we feel when we hear, or I would add witness, about the firsthand traumatic experience of others. So I was trying to kind of wrap my brain around this. And when I'm thinking of teachers experiencing secondary trauma, it is, we live in Wisconsin, so it is the child who comes in on the -20-degree day and doesn't have a hat or mittens or a coat, or his coat is so ripped to shreds that you know the wind is just burning through it. The child who comes into class and has unexplained bruises, or maybe seems more shy than usual, or seems scared during the school day. The child who's always hungry, especially on Mondays, even though we have free lunch and free breakfast right now, and he's going up for seconds and thirds, and you're just not sure what he's getting to eat on the weekends. Those are all things that you experience, and I'm sure the list could go on and on, that are secondary traumas. So symptoms of secondary trauma: feeling numb or detached. I know as a child trauma therapist, I felt this at times, kind of rather than throw myself into how awful some of this stuff is, I kind of just put up this wall and feel totally numb and not surrounded by any of it. Having low energy, so you get home from work and you're just exhausted and can't really do much besides like sit on the couch. Some unhealthy coping. So maybe where a glass of wine a night is really nice and calming, you're starting to drink 2 or 3 glasses of wine a night to be able to go to sleep. So you can stop your racing thoughts. Low job morale, or just like, I feel like I don't even care, so I'm not trying as hard. Having a difficult time concentrating or making decisions. The difficulty making decisions can be a huge sign of trauma or secondary trauma. Maybe questioning like my spirituality, questioning kind of bigger worldviews, and then withdrawing from your support network. Even if your network is other teachers or other professionals, yeah, usually I'd reach out for a friend to help, but you know what? I know how burned out they are too, so I'm not going to do that. All of these can be symptoms of secondary trauma. So I'm wondering, we're going to launch another poll real quick here. How many in the room would say you're experiencing secondary trauma or any of these symptoms right now in your lives? All right. Let's see what we've got. Yes to 67 and no to 33. Okay, so a little bit less than burnout, however, still a great majority of the room. So good news, bad news with this, guys. Okay, the bad news is you're experiencing it. Good news is there's a name for this. So combo of burnout plus secondary trauma equals compassion fatigue. So sometimes I feel like, oh, there's a name for it. That means I'm not the only one. That's good. If there's a name for it, there's probably some research going into this, and you're exactly right. Rogers In Health has a great free online toolkit. It's called the Compassion Resilience Toolkit. I have a resource slide at the end that has that directly on there. And there's 3 compassion resilience toolkits out there. One is specifically for parents, one is specifically for health and human services, and the third is specifically for schools, teachers, and educators. It's a great kind of like curriculum, and it's very, very, they have lots of ideas for activities in there. And what you can do is you can do one activity once a year that takes 5 minutes with your staff, or you can do one a week, or you can do the full-fledged curriculum. It has some wonderful ideas in there. What I want to say though about specifically teaching as well as secondary trauma is that we get into our helping professions usually with an open heart, right? We have an open heart and a willingness to help people. And something I heard, actually, I think it was the creator of the Resilience Toolkit that said, the only problem with going into something with an open heart is that it's more open to wounds and less likely to heal quickly. So I go in with this open heart, yet there's nothing kind of in between me and getting hurt. And that's really where we see the burnout and the secondary trauma come in. So the bad news is you're experiencing it. The good news is there's lots of resources out there to help. So I know that when I start out a new like healthy eating regime or things like that, it's going to take days or weeks for me to really see the benefits, right? Like I'm not going to start losing the weight I need to lose or feel those benefits. I don't know, maybe some of you feel the runner's high. I've never felt the runner's high. I hate every second of exercising. But the good news here is some of these stress reducers I'm going to give you are immediately reinforcing. You're going to see immediate effects from them, or I hope you're going to see immediate effects from them. The other good news is there's a ton of resources out there. And keep in mind, oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. The other thing I just put on here is, I know I have lots of friends that are in teaching, and I think that you guys are such an amazing profession because you truly do have each other as a wonderful support network. And so keeping in mind, I know I'm an outsider, but keeping in mind those around you, and especially looking at those at this webinar, 2/3 of us are experiencing secondary trauma, and what was it, 87% of us are experiencing burnout. So we do need to rely on other. The good news again is somebody else is feeling this way, and maybe we can join together to help. So I did my best to break this webinar kind of into 5-minute stress reducers, 10-minute stress reducers, And then I have a small section on how we can transition from school to home and try to kind of, as much as possible, leave work at work and be who we need to be at home. And then the last part is on boundaries or limit setting. If there's anything, excuse me, if there's anything that I don't get to, or you have specific questions on what we're going through, absolutely feel free to throw those in the chat and I'll try to get to them. So our first 5-minute stress reducer, this is called the loving kindness meditation, or you could call it loving kindness mindfulness. We're not going to practice this one today, but we are going to practice some of the others. There are a bazillion YouTube videos out there that guide you through this, or you can just kind of use this script for yourself. So how it works is you're going to sit down in somewhere quiet, kind of take some deep breaths, soften your gaze, can mean just focus on something usually about like 8 to 12 inches in front of you, and just kind of let your eyes relax. Like if you've ever done those magic eye posters, kind of like that. And then you're going to go through this cycle of phrases. First off, specific to yourself. So you're going to start off with, may I be happy? May I be well? May I be healthy? May I be safe? And may I be loved? This has you cycle through 2 times. Whatever you've got time for is fine. I would say it's most important to just pause after each sentence. I just read them really fast, but pause and really sit with that just for a moment. So once you cycle through for yourself, then you're going to focus on a specific loved one. Now, don't feel bad if you're leaving one of your kids out and only doing one of your kids. That's okay. You can take turns with them all. But what I like to do is a little different than what they have on here. I like to kind of picture that person in front of me. And rather than saying like, may Tom be happy, I'll say, may you be happy. So you run through that script again with your loved one. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be healthy. May you be safe. And may you be loved. And then the third round is going to be just with somebody neutral. So it could be, that clerk at the gas station or grocery store. It could be somebody you kind of pass in the halls, but consider more an acquaintance than somebody you know well. Run through that script, really, really focusing intent on that person. The fourth one, some people choose to leave this out, which is perfectly fine. Somebody you're having difficulty with. It does not need to be your arch enemy. I don't know any teachers that have arch enemies, but it does not need to be somebody that you've just gotten into great conflict with. Just somebody that, and it might be a student, right? It might be a student that you're having a really hard time connecting with, or it might be a parent that you're having a hard time understanding their point of view in things. And just wish them these 5 things. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be healthy. May you be safe. And may you be loved. And then we're going to broaden the scope a little bit. For teachers, I really like to suggest just broadening the scope to your whole school. So all the staff and students at your school, running through these 5. And then lastly, universalizing the world, the universe in general, and putting this out there into the universe. It's not difficult, it's not long, and I can say that every time I've done this, I've at least felt like sort of that sigh of relief. It feels really great. So that is the loving kindness meditation. Moving on, and this one we are going to actually try right now. Setting intentions. So take 5 minutes at the start of your day, or like I do at the start of my week, because I'm working on my mindfulness and I know I need to set aside more time, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there for every single day. But at the start of the week on Monday, I sit down and I write on a Post-it note, it's up here on my desk, my intent for the week. And then I post it on my desk right above my computer so I see it every day. And I keep it posted as a reminder, and every so often I kind of glance up at it and remind myself that I need to be living by this intent every week. Rather than a to-do list, let's make this a list of values, ideals, or things that you want to do this week at work or today at work. So if you guys don't mind, I'll redo mine from this week. And just to highlight that this should not be a to-do list. I need to get those report cards done. What values do you want to live by this week? So here's mine. My intent this week is to approach with optimism. I need to see opportunities where there are some, and seek opportunities where it does not seem that there are any. I'll be open to others viewing opportunity differently than I do. I will grow. I will reinforce positivity. I will radically accept and not judge my judging. I will continue progress, and I will mindfully participate with my family. So if everybody right now, I think I'll just give you a couple minutes. If everybody right now could just try this out. We're not going to do a full 5 minutes, but just try this out. If you want to be brave and type it in the chat, great. If you want to write it on a Post-it in front of you, great. We'll take just a couple minutes to do that right now. And I wish I had some really great background music or something to play. Y'all don't want me to sing, I can promise that. So. If you're not done, that's okay. I lied, that was not a couple of minutes, I apologize. That was much shorter than a couple of minutes. And, oh, I love that. I will be patient and listen with compassion. That is perfect, thank you. So you can continue doing those, of course, if you'd like to, or just kind of keep that in mind for another day. The next one, everybody's favorite, just breathe. All right, you guys, here's where I'm going to be vulnerable and let you know a little story about when I was learning mindfulness. I was learning mindfulness, I was convinced, I tell you, that I would get a lot more done if during the 5 minutes I was supposed to be doing mindfulness, I could be writing my grocery list in my head or meal planning for the next week. I thought I was onto something. For some reason, I thought I could beat the brain science, like they all didn't know what they were talking about, but I did. So anyways, breathing was my least favorite thing to do. I always lost track. Even if I was trying to focus, I couldn't. And here's the deal. We need to train our brains just like we're training a puppy. So if you get a puppy, there's a super cute little puppy here. I was trying to put my dog on there, but she's not as adorable as this one. If you're training a puppy to sit and stay, and let's say you want that puppy to stay on your lap. I put the puppy on my lap and I say stay, and I let go. First thing she's going to do is jump off my lap, right? I'm not just going to give up though. I'm going to grab that puppy, well, not grab, gently hold that puppy, put her back on my lap and say stay again. And it might be several times in a row that I have to do this. Just like during mindfulness, it might be several times in a row that you have to catch your mind wandering and bring it back to the task at hand. You don't need to judge yourself. Mindfulness is not about doing it perfectly. In fact, the goal of mindfulness is just being aware when your mind does wander and bring it back. Knowing that, what I would like us to try to do is 1 more minute of square breathing. However, the first time I intentionally did not give a whole lot of direction on it. This time I would like you all to remember that if your mind wanders, simply bring it back. If you lose track of where you are in the square, just start over. If you want to count to 5 rather than 4, that's fine. Just do that. So we're going to do 1 more minute. And then after that minute, I'm going to ask, please, if you can just type in the chat, if that was a different experience for you at all than the first time we did it. So we'll do the same thing. First bell is just draw your attention to the task. Second bell is set your intention for trying to keep your mind coming back. And then third bell is beginning the practice. All right, that was 1 minute. If that was different at all for you, or if it was not different, feel free to type it in the the chat. Barbie Price, I agree with you. It's the first nice day and y'all are here. I so appreciate that. So if it was different, I welcome any feedback. My hope would be that you really allowed and gave yourself permission to fully engage in that task. And I really appreciate everybody that did. All right, our next 5-minute one. This is a 5-minute one that, like I said, some are immediate and some are going to be longer term. This one is one that I love. Sorry, I'm distracted now by the chat. I love this. Karen almost fell asleep and says that it was really helpful looking at the puppy. I love that. You focused on that to keep your mind. Wonderful. So the gratitude mindfulness or the gratitude practice is one that I have the article source on here. If you do this for 4 weeks, if you do this every day for 4 weeks, you quite literally are creating new and healthier neural pathways in your brain. And it's not difficult. Each day you write out at least 3 things that you're grateful for. They don't have to be big things. It does not have to be my family and my support network. Oftentimes my focus is more on, I'm thankful for electricity. I'm thankful that it's 70 degrees outside today, whatever it may be. I'm thankful for this opportunity. So just writing down 3 things that you're grateful for. Or what you could do is take that 5 minutes and write a note of gratitude to a colleague or a friend or a loved one. Just a simple note saying what you're grateful for that they do or what you're grateful for that they help you with. And so Berkeley did this study and found that in those 4 weeks, people improved their sleep, reduced toxic emotions like resentment and frustration, helped kind of regulate, so keep their stress on a bit more of an even keel, and decrease depression and anxiety, which I'll circle back to that first slide on here. We know is coming up more. We know people are dealing with more often now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is one of my favorites because it can be even less than 5 minutes. In fact, it can be 30 seconds. And I don't know, I forgot to ask, can anybody on here unmute themselves and talk so I can lead them in this, or is that not possible, Christina? I forgot to ask that.
I am not sure. Jenny, do you know?
That's okay. Christina, do you want to do it?
They can.
Okay. Christina, will you be my volunteer?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And you don't have to turn your camera on or anything if you don't want to. So Christina, just look around your room right now and tell me 5 things you can see in your room.
I see a mirror. I see a dresser. I see a fan. I see some Legos. I see a glass of water.
Perfect. Now, how about 4 things that you can hear right now?
I can hear my dog whimpering downstairs because he's locked up. I can hear some kids playing in another room. I can hear the fan, and I can hear you talking.
Perfect. How about 3 things you can feel? And it can either be like, I feel my clothes on my body, or it can be, I feel a little anxious about doing this.
I feel my pants. They're fuzzy. I feel, I can feel the table in front of me that I have my computer on. Mm-hmm. And I can feel the sturdiness of the chair that I'm sitting on.
Perfect. Oh, that's a good one. Grounding yourself to the sturdiness of a chair is wonderful. How about 2 things you can smell right now? And a cheater go-to I have is I always smell my shampoo because that's an easy one. But 2 things you can smell because the smell is a harder one.
That is a good one. I'm going to steal that one. I can smell the shampoo in my hair, and I can smell a little bit of a candle that was burned earlier.
Perfect. And then the last one thing you can taste, and it could be if you have water, taking a sip of water, or just one taste you have right now.
I took a sip of Sprite before you asked me to turn on, and so I can a little bit of the Sprite in my mouth.
Perfect. That is all it is, ladies and gentlemen, and it doesn't have to be in this order: see, hear, feel, smell, taste. I usually do that one because to me that seems the easiest. However, it can take seconds to do. The great thing about this is oftentimes when we're stressed, we're we're all up in our emotions, right? We're all up in this and we're not really connected to our body and what's happening in the here and now. Most often when we're anxious, I always say we're either anxious about something that's going to happen or something that already happened. Very infrequently are we anxious about right now in this second what's happening. So this helps us ground back to our senses and is almost like a little bit of a reset button. The other thing I like about this is that you can do it without anyone knowing that you're doing it. So it's one of my favorite quick ones that you can do without anyone knowing. I have a friend that also gets some panic episodes, and this is really helpful for those as well. All right, so now we're on to our 10-minute stress reducers. And the first one is one that I'm going to ask people if they want to put in their chat. And this is just, I call, what is your why? Why did you become a teacher? For me, why did I become a therapist? Specifically, a county-funded therapist. I'm guessing, just like me, you all went into it, obviously, for the high salary, the popularity that comes with it, all of those things, right? So think back on why you became a teacher. And if you want to type it in the chat, that's fine. What I encourage people to do, though, is have this, again, I have lots of Post-its on my desk, have this out where you can see it too, as kind of a reminder of why you got into this. Ask your coworkers or share yours with your coworkers and ask what theirs are. When you're really stressed about a decision at work, if you're asked to do something that maybe you're not quite sure on, or if a student is just you're having a difficult time with a student, having a difficult time connecting with a student, go back to your why and kind of use this why as your compass, as your guiding force. This is an activity I love to do in group settings because I get to hear from everybody their why, and they all tend to be different. There's lots of connections with them. And I love that everybody has, to summer off, everybody has great whys in here. And your whys are very deep and heartfelt, which I think is amazing. Oftentimes, when we're experiencing secondary trauma, burnout, and compassion fatigue, we don't feel like we're accomplishing our why. We feel like we're kind of just moving in the circles. And so it can be helpful to remind ourselves of our why. It can also be helpful to maybe do one thing a day that tries to specifically carry it out. So I would really encourage people to maintain this conversation with friends, with coworkers. And again, for me, it's been really helpful to use that as like my guiding force when I'm stressed. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but if you are burned out and you feel like you might need to leave the profession to go on to another career, go back to your why. And maybe really in your heart of hearts, you feel that that why isn't being achieved anymore, and that the best way you can be helpful or achieve a bigger purpose is to search out a different career path that can still meet your why. Again, I'm sorry, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but again, that why doesn't need to be always that it ends up in the same exact place for you. Use that as your guiding force. The next one is short and sweet because it's a tough pill to swallow, you guys. So myself included, everyone I know says, I'm a multitasker. I can do this. And it's true. Teachers are amazing multitaskers. I know of teachers that are emailing a parent, talking on the phone to their own kids, and texting another teacher about something that's going on. So we can do a million things right at the same time. The brain science shows that our brains are incapable of multitasking. So I might be typing an email, taking a crisis phone call, and texting my kids, but in reality, my brain, and it might be within milliseconds, is actually flipping from one task to the other constantly. So our brains can't multitask. We might think they can. It's really difficult to swallow that pill, and it's not possible. So allow yourself the chance to single task. Set a timer for 10 minutes and just write your grocery list. Don't answer your text messages. Don't answer your phones. Don't pop up your email or check your messenger. Just write your grocery list. Or, gosh, that task that you've been putting off for 6 months and you know it's only going to take 5 minutes, like calling the doctor to make an appointment, give yourself time to do that single task. It usually gets pushed to the back burner, A, because it doesn't seem immediate, or B, because you're doing 5 other things in the moment. So allowing yourself that ability. I need a task that has a really clear-cut beginning, middle, and end. When I was dealing with some secondary trauma, this was probably some of the best feedback I got. When dealing with secondary trauma or compassion fatigue, we often feel like the to-do list is endless, right? Or that the progress is just not moving fast enough. So I got involved in my favorite now old lady hobby, which is crochet. I love crochet because I know at the beginning I have a ball of yarn. I know in the middle I have half a scarf, and I know at the end I have a whole scarf. I love doing laundry for this very reason. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I can see it right there. So that task could be cleaning out your junk drawer, depending on how junky your junk drawer is. It might take more than 10 minutes. It could be doing a craft activity. It could be going around the block. It could be, creating something with your kid, creating a piece of art with your kid. Finding a task that has that beginning, middle, and end, and kind of allowing yourself to experience what that's like in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of the task. I know it sounds simplistic and maybe kind of silly. However, I promise there is a great satisfaction in having a task completed, especially when we're struggling with secondary trauma and burnout. All right, exercise. My doctor tells me this all the time. I'm not very great at it. However, keeping in mind that, and again, my doctor friends may disagree with me, but exercise doesn't necessarily have to be 6 days a week, 45 minutes a day, right? Just take a walk around the block, ride your bike, do a yoga video from YouTube. If at the end of the day, you are exhausted because you've been standing all day, check out a yoga video that's slow movement. Or if at the end of the day, you're antsy because you've been sitting in your desk all day, yeah, do one of these kind of more high energy tasks. My kids and I love to do dance parties together. And again, it's not a huge time commitment, but it's putting on whatever video we want, and we do our dance party. It gets our heart pumping in the end. You feel good. You feel like you've done something. You've got your endorphins up and running. All right, this one's going to take a little bit more explanation, and this is take 10. So I have some ideas on the right-hand side here for mindfulness. Mindful eating, mindful walking. You can Google a zillion mindfulness ideas out there. And in fact, there's probably scripts for each and every one of those that I have listed on here. However, the 6 things on the side, the 3 what skills and the 3 how skills, are really what makes a task mindful. So the what skills are what you're doing when you're doing mindfulness. You can only do one of these 3 at a time. Observing means just observing what's going on. So if I'm on, yay, DBT is amazing, wonderful, thank you, Alicia. Yes, this is from DBT, Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. Check it out, there's a ton of great DBT in schools curriculum. So if I'm taking a hike in the woods, I'm just observing the leaves, the birds, the sounds, and I'm not putting a name to any of them. As you guys might guess, this one is the hardest for me because I'm a little bit of a talker. So observe skills can be very difficult for me, and the more I've practiced them, the more I've liked just being. Describe is putting a label or putting words to what you're experiencing. So if you're doing some mindful eating with chocolate, stating that this wrapper sounds crinkly. This chocolate feels smooth in my mouth. So it's putting a specific label to what you're experiencing. And then the last one, again, one of my favorites, participate. And what participate means is I am doing this all in the moment. For those of you that have ever watched Grey's Anatomy when they had their little dance parties, that's what they were doing. They were doing some great participate mindfulness. They weren't worried about what had just happened. They weren't worried about what was going to happen. They weren't worried about how they looked when they danced. They were 100% in the moment. If you've ever gone to your favorite concert and were singing along with the band, or a lot of times family time can bring this about. So being all in without worries of anything else that's going on. Then the how skills. Excuse me. The how skills are how we're going to go about being mindful. Non-judgmentally. That means that if my mind gets off task, or if I feel like I'm doing it quote unquote wrong, I'm not going to judge that. I'm just going to bring myself back to the present moment. I think oftentimes, whether it's in our career or our family life, we get very, very judgmental of ourselves. Even Mary just put a great point in here that oftentimes all these ideas are helpful, but when we're busy, we forget about our personal wellness. Absolutely. Sometimes we even think our personal wellness is selfish, right? So if we're thinking that, that's a judgment, bringing myself back to what's going on right now in the moment. So being non-judgmental, being one mindful, that's bringing the puppy back to our laps. So that is one thing in the moment that I'm focusing on. I cannot be mindful if I'm focusing on 15 different things. And if I notice 15 different things creeping into my mind, I'm bringing it back to that one. And then the last one is do things effectively. Do what works for you. Body scan might not work for everybody. It's one that I love to do because I can like feel my stress melting away. Others, like I said, the breathing is hard for me. I like it now, but it was hard for me in the beginning. Mindful eating, I'm not great at. So finding what activity works for you, and using that activity for your own regimen. So I just wanted to give a few minutes to kind of explain those 6 criteria of mindfulness. All right, we're moving on to a new category here, the transition from school to home. When I reached out to folks, one thing that they said they really needed help with was how do I transition from my school to my home life? And sometimes that's transitioning to a new role, right? It might be transitioning from teacher role to mom role, dad role, significant other role, child, whatever it may be. So transitioning from school to home. One idea, and this is what I do sometimes on my way home from work, I take a different driving route after I've had a really stressful day. So I'm not going 20 minutes out of my way, although maybe sometimes I am. But even just going around the block once you get home, doing something to kind of get your mind flipped into like, oh, wait, something new is happening. How many times have you guys driven home from work and you pulled in the driveway and realized, I have no idea how I got here. I don't remember anything about that drive. It's because our minds are kind of offline and it's almost muscle memory at that point that's getting us home. Doing something to kind of flip your brain into high gear again about like, oh, something different is happening. Is one idea. What if you have to do more work when you get home? Wonderful. Thank you for asking that. That is part of the leave the backpack one that I want to get to. So I'm going to jump down to that so I can answer you right away. I carry a backpack to and from work, and sometimes when I get home, I have to do more work. Sometimes I can leave my backpack in the car so I don't have that visual reminder. Sometimes I'll just bring in my laptop or whatever one thing I need. But other times what I do is when I get home, so I'll do my best to kind of disconnect from work, pardon me. When I get home, I'll do what I need to do at home. And then if I need to go back into work mode, get all my stuff out, do what I need to get done for the night. And when that's over, some people tease me for this, but I put my work bag in a room that has a door and I close the door. I'm a very visual person. And so having that out of my visual space is really helpful. During COVID, when I was working from home, I'm sure many of you experienced this too. My office was literally the only place I could have a quiet space in my home was in my bedroom. And so everything was right there, even while I was trying to relax. And it was really, really difficult. So what I started doing was I would take my computer and everything down at the end of the day and put it back in that closet. Somebody else says it helps to sit up straight, focus on sitting up straight. When you're exhausted, you tend to slouch, and focusing on your posture. That's an excellent one. So finding the way to close the door, whether it's literal or figurative. At the end of the day, if you need to close your classroom door and just take that deep breath, or however you can close the door on what's going on. Taking a minute before you get out of the car once you get home, whether it's one deep breath or just letting the song on the radio finish, or whatever song you have playing finish if it's your favorite one. Walk the dog, somebody just posted in here, that's a perfect one. Having a mantra. So one of my mantras, because I always feel like I'm focused on, oh my gosh, tomorrow I've got to get into work and I really need to respond to that one email, or I really need to know that this crisis is happening tonight. So tomorrow I have to follow up on it. I'm always focused on that. And so my mantra is today is for today, tomorrow is for tomorrow. I need to keep today. Right now I'm with my kids, or right now I'm on this. And tomorrow is for tomorrow. And I have faith that tomorrow will still be there tomorrow. I have faith that I'll for sure have to deal with it tomorrow, and that's fine. I'm going to deal with it then. Be present is another one that people posted on here. Listening to specific songs to change your mood. Absolutely. On the way home, turning on your favorite super happy song or whatever it may be. Leaving your backpack in the car and remembering the invisible backpack. So when I train teachers on trauma-informed care for kids, I always talk about the invisible backpack. So they've got their backpack that they bring to school, or some don't, obviously, but everyone walks into school with an invisible backpack. And that's all the things I'm carrying with me into the day that others may not see. So I missed breakfast at home, or I got in a fight with my mom right before I got out of the car. All those extra things that may be weighing me down. And for teachers, you're bringing your invisible backpack the opposite way, from school to home. So whether that's just kind of listing those things that are in your invisible backpack and throwing them away, or whatever you need to do, whether it's visual imagery of putting that invisible backpack on a shelf, closing the door, and then getting back to your home life. And then this is my last super quick and easy one that I love to do. I change into my comfy clothes right away when I get home. And it helps me kind of like shed the workday, quite literally, but also they're comfy clothes. They're the best, right? Those are some of my transition ideas. I love the ideas that are being posted in the chat here too, so keep them coming. Right. Oh, we're doing okay for time. I'm going to try to speed through this here, guys. Oh, we're not doing okay for time. I need to go faster. All right. Step up versus step back just means taking a look at when it's appropriate for you to step up to a task and when it's appropriate to step back and allow somebody else to participate in this task, allow somebody else the opportunity to grow from this task. A group or team activity that I've done before is we write down kind of all the roles in our team. We stand on a line and I read the role. And if it's something that appeals to you, you step up. And if it's something that you don't think you contribute to right now, you step back. And sometimes it just can help noticing on the team who appreciates which tasks, which ones they feel like they can do, and allows me maybe a chance to step back a little bit. All right, this is one that I really, really wanted to hit home. We hear a lot about be the one. It takes one person to impact a child's life. One person. I really, really like that. I do a lot. And man, that's a lot of pressure if I got to be the one person to impact a kid's life, let alone you guys for being the one person to impact 20, 30, or if you're a specials teacher, I don't even know how many kids' lives. That is a ton of pressure. So I encourage everybody to take a step back and be one of the ones. There are many, many support systems out there for kids. Be one of the ones that have that positive impact on their life. DBTC was created by Dr. Francesca Paraplechikova, and I think I said it right. And I love her quote on here. When she said this to me, I literally felt like a weight was being lifted. You are but one variable in a string of variables that affect an outcome. I was constantly thinking that if something turned out badly, it was because of me. I didn't work hard enough. I didn't do enough. I didn't have enough compassion, whatever it may be. And when she said this, I was like, wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I am one tiny piece of this puzzle that created this grander outcome, positive or negative. So just like if a kid does great in therapy, I cannot take all the credit for that. I was one tiny piece. The kids working hard, the parents working hard, the teachers are working hard, all of these other things. So just like I can't take full credit for when things go well, it is not on me when things don't go well. So encourage yourselves to kind of reframe that and be one of the ones. Not gonna lie, y'all, I stole this right from the Caregiver Bill of Rights by Ms. Jo Horn, which I greatly appreciate her for. And I changed a few words in it, changed a few things that might impact teachers. I want to real quickly just read through a couple of these. I know I'm running short on time, but I have the right to take care of myself. This is not selfish. So this goes back to what somebody was saying in the chat. It gives me the capacity to better educate children. I have the right to take pride in what I'm accomplishing and applaud the courage it takes to be an educator. And the bottom two I feel like are so important. I can protect my individuality and I have a right to my own life. I do not need to be a teacher 24/7. And then the last one, I have the right to expect and demand. And new strides are being made in finding resources to aid, educate, and support children. Therefore, similar strides should be made in aiding and supporting educators. And that's why I was so thankful that Nasco reached out. They really saw this last one as a need and took care of it, or taking care of it, pardon me. All right, one last real quick thing here. Setting boundaries was a big one that people asked me for help on, and this is a DBT skill called the FAST skill. There is no balance without healthy boundaries. So DBT loves themselves some acronyms, and I'm going to run through a quick example here. So let's say somebody asks me to chaperone rollerblading night. My kids just had rollerblading night, so I'm thinking of this. Let's say somebody asked me to chaperone rollerblading night. I really don't want to chaperone rollerblading night. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be fair. Is this request fair of me? Maybe it is, because maybe every other teacher in the school has already chaperoned a night and I haven't. Maybe it's not, because I've chaperoned the last 6 nights and nobody else has done it yet. So be fair. Can I handle this? My mental capacity, can I handle this? Make no apologies. If your answer is going to be no, you do not need to apologize. Recently, my daughter was homesick with a stomach bug and she was up vomiting, and somebody called me from work and said, hey, can you log into this meeting real quick? And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry, but I don't think I can, because Winnie just puked all over me and I have to clean myself up and her up. And then I thought, why am I apologizing? Like, they should be apologizing to me. My kid just puked on me. So you don't need to have an apology when you say no. Sticking to your values, look back at your why and look back at your value of wellness and use that as your moral compass. Does this follow my why? And does this follow my value of my own wellness? And have that be part of your yes or no. And then lastly, be truthful. Set the precedent that I can say no. And my reason is just, I'm at my limit right now. It's, no is a one word, or is a full sentence. And you can add on to it that I need to respect my own mental wellness and mental capacity right now. So being truthful and setting that precedent. The more you do it, the more others will do it too. And you'll notice a shift in your team. Here are some resources. Y'all are going to get all of these slides. There's that Compassion Resilience Toolkit. Healthy Minds at Work is out of UW-Madison. It's a workplace app that your school or district can purchase for teachers. I highly recommend it. We use it at my work. The next 2 apps are free, 10% Happier and Insight Timer. And then the last one is one of my favorite quick, easy reads articles, all about self-care is really more than bubble baths and chocolate cake. And it really is. And it helped me reframe my self-care and helped me really feel a lot more effective in my self-care. And lastly here, I know that Christina's going to jump back on for a minute, but I cannot express enough from the bottom of my heart how thankful I am for each and every one of you and all that you do. I wanted to put a special thanks to some special teachers on here, several that contributed to giving me ideas for this presentation: Mrs. Moore, Ms. Zabo, Mrs. Zangel, Ms. Conger, Ms. Vervoort, Ms. Rock. Mrs. Bauer was my 3rd grade teacher who I will never forget, who I had a zillion years ago. Mrs. Matas, who's my daughter's 2nd grade teacher, Mrs. Brettel, who's my other daughter's kindergarten teacher, and Mrs. Marchant, who is the firefighter I spoke about at the start. So I wanted to give a special shout out to those people who are near and dear to me. And I will hand it over to Christina.
Thank you, Lisa. I really hope that all of you were able to take away a few tips or tools or things that you're going to be able to use to help reduce stress and anxiety in your life. I wanted to just do a really quick ask. There's going to be a quick survey, only 4 questions at the end of this webinar. And if you could just take 1 second to quickly answer those, it helps us get a better understanding what teachers are looking for. And it also helps us plan out future webinars like this. And I also wanted to say, I said that we're going to be announcing the winner of our mental health kits that we're giving out. If you have not seen them yet, I'll show you really quick. We have these little, they're like a first aid kit, but for mental health. The idea behind them was, from young on, we're taught how to take care of ourselves physically, but we're not always taught how to take care of ourselves mentally. So the idea is, instead of having a little kit that's got Band-Aids in it, it's got like a little book and some tools that are in here that help do the exercises to help kids learn how to reduce stress, how to reduce anxiety. And I'll just show you a really quick, the exercise that Lisa had me do, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have something like that in here. So they're all exercises that kids can do any place, anywhere, anytime, and really discreetly. And they're very easy to remember. And we wanted to make sure that all kids had the opportunity to learn these. So we've made a couple different sets of them, one that's for elementary students, a little younger, and one that's middle school and high school students. And so I wanted to give a quick talk about those, and the winner that's getting the classroom kit is going to be Stephanie Gooden from Iowa. So congratulations, Stephanie. I'm going to be reaching out to you to get the information to send that kit out. I hope you guys all have a great rest of the week, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say my email address is at the start. I know you'll be sending out slides, but if anybody ever wants to email me, I am all ears for how to improve this, or if you have any questions about practice or anything like that, 100%. And thank you guys so much.